about voter suppression and redoubling the efforts to fight for voting rights. He even said 2 Democratic senators are the ones who are holding out from ending the filibuster. In Texas, Democrats walked out of the chamber, keeping the Republicans from having a quorum, preventing them from actually enacting one of the most onerous voter suppression bills in the country. Joining us right now is the head of the Black Caucus there in Texas, Representative Nicole Collier. Representative Collier, glad to have you in Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm not able to hear her, so if you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now, Roland?
Now we can hear you. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So talk about that bold move to walk out of the chamber. Look, y'all are limited. Republicans control the House and the Senate, but that action kept them from being able to pass that bill. Explain to people what happened.
So, yes, so the process of how SB 7 was handled is no different than how the legislative session went the whole entire time. You know, we had Democratic members who would put forth amendments to bills that the Republicans put forth to try to reduce the harmful impacts that they would have. But most of our amendments, most of the time, would be either stripped out, watered down, or flat out denied. And so we've said enough is enough. We pulled back from, you talked about what happened 100 years ago. You're talking about what happened in Tulsa. We reached back and looked at what happened 50 years ago. We talk about how the blacks did the sit-in during the Jim Crow era when they had those Jim Crow measures. The least we could do is walk out when we were faced with the same.
And our Republicans obviously were a little bit upset when y'all did that. But bottom line is they earned it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the whole entire session has been about their conservative agenda. They did the permitless carry. We had one of our Legislative Black Caucus colleagues, Representative Harold Dutton. All he did was ask that the pretext stop, that if you see a person carrying a gun under this new permitless carry bill that the governor is going to sign, then that would not provide a pretext to stop them, because we know that blacks are more likely to be pulled over and stopped by law enforcement than their white counterparts. So why, what's the problem with with providing a measure that said that they could not use that as a pretext to stop them? No, when that measure went over to the Senate, they stripped it out. So just the blatant disregard for the impact that their laws have on people of color was called for an equal response.
And Texas Governor Greg Abbott was not at all happy with what y'all did.
No, but let me tell you this. I don't even see how. So Governor Abbott says that he's going to veto Article 10 of the budget. Okay, that he's talking about, I presume, the budget that's going to be in place on September 1st of this year. But that budget includes the salaries not only for myself, and let me tell you, I'm not concerned about the $600 a month that the state pays me to serve as the state representative. I'm more concerned about my staff. I'm concerned about the staff of all legislative members, Republican and Democrats. I'm concerned about their health insurance. Has this pandemic not showed us how important it is to have health insurance? I mean, we already have the highest rate of uninsured, and for the governor to threaten to veto Article 10, which includes the health insurance and retirement benefits for the legislative body, is a petulant punishment for all of these individuals.
No. I want to call that right. Last question for you. The governor's going to call a special session. What's going to happen next? And then, obviously, y'all got to be prepared for that moment.
Yes. Well, we already knew he was going to call a special session. In fact, this is a redistricting year, so we got to do the redistricting, and that was going to be called in a special session, perhaps in August or September. And then also there's federal dollars coming down from the pandemic that we're going to have to distribute. So those were items that were already on a proposed special session, but now I anticipate he's going to add this election these election matters. And we knew this going in. We knew that one of the consequences is that they could try to make it worse. But we're going to continue to leave all options on the table when it comes down to pushing back and opposing these measures. So whether that's trying to file points of order, talk the bill to death, or walking out is yet to be seen. But we don't want to, close out any of our options.
Representative Nicole Collier, head of the Black Caucus there in Texas. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Roland.
We'll go back to my panel. I want to start with you, Mustafa. We were talking about, of course, the Texas case. We were talking about voter suppression. President Biden brought that up. You have to also tie voter suppression piece to economics because that affects public policy based upon who you elect, who is in control, who is in power.
Yeah, we see this playing out across the country where hundreds of these voter suppression bills have been put in place. And at the same time, when we see that, we know that there's that direct economic tie. We also see that there's a direct tie between many of the injustices that happen in communities, whether it's environmental injustice, housing injustice, transportation injustice. It's all tied in. And if people can't vote, then the folks who sit on the city councils and the county commissions and in the state houses then have free reign to continue to create these sacrifice zones. They did that there in Tulsa, where they created a sacrifice zone after they stripped all the wealth out, after they murdered people, after they took over the land, and then people had the hard job of trying to find traction and to be able to rebuild. So we understand that our vote is critical. And we understand that our vote is tied to power and it's also tied to resources.
This is why, Ben, it cracks me up, the people who whine and complain, who say they support reparations, but then they say don't vote. How do you get something from governments if you don't put the people in place who can give you what you want to get?
People don't want to do, there's a segment of people who don't want to commit to the dirty work of actually getting the goals. If we have a goal of reparations, the only way we're going to get it is if we get enough political power to, and just the battle that's ahead of us when it comes to getting reparations. Not only do we have to fight against an intransigent Republican Party in the House and the Senate, but we have to fight against the totality of white supremacy and capitalism, because money is power in this system. And the titans of industry are going to be looking at us fighting for reparations with a side eye. And by side eye, I mean lobbying dollars. They're going to be fighting against us, too. And so if anybody is actually serious about giving reparations, we have got to get political power along with some economic power to fight these fights that are coming up, because white supremacy is not going to give us reparations easily.
And Teresa, again, I keep going back to, you can't make public policy demands if you don't have people who are in office who are going to be responsive to your public policy demands. All of these things are connected.
Absolutely. And for people to think that they're not connected, they are sadly mistaken. Those who work on campaigns know that the transition of power is essential. And part of that transition of power is knowing who's going to be in power in some of those appointed or elected positions. And so it is up to the will of the people during the campaign to express their need for public policy change in a certain area, to then curate that relationship as they transition into public office. So for people to think that the two aren't married, again, are sadly mistaken and are missing the ball on some of the biggest issues that are happening right now.
Absolutely. And so I just need people to understand, these things are connected. The reason we are so aggressive with this is we have to understand what's going on. Then, of course, you have stupid people. I got some fool on my YouTube channel who's not even worth me calling that person's name, who keeps talking about who's evil. I'm going to tell you who's evil. Any party that's endorsing voter suppression, that's evil. Any party that defends Confederate monuments, that's evil. Any party that knowingly allows the flying of Confederate flags at their events, that's evil. That's today's Republican Party. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.